that's called for 2025. And he slowly but surely got that car set up again. That car was driven once in this category by Sandra Becker, who now races the BMW in fine cars. And she was also racing the ladies section in the all-tar at Rallycross last week, Saturday. So, but it's not about her now. She'll be in the fine cars a bit later on. It's all about Ernest Page, that is in pole position in that very same motor car in the supercar category, as the V8s work their way out of Pirelli Fostron out of turn number 5. So slowly but surely the guys at IMUSAT are beginning to sort out the problems for us that we've been having with the cameras the entire day. The supercars start working their way past us. That's Ernest Page, that is Moffat, that is Halleck coming through. Bradley Fenner also working his way through. Glenn Phillips in the 33. Shane Boscombe, Nashvin Schloss coming through. Leon Chetty working his way through. Rob DeVos. And Craig Hume is supposed to be part of this group as well in the 21 car. So that is the V8s and the supercars.
Pirelli V8 Masters and Kaltron Supercars as usual running together, and it looks like it'll be Sean Moore and Alistair Brown that's going to be on the front row of the grid. That's going to be a pretty good one with Gary Thompson and Dennis Guy Duck in there directly behind that. Row 3, Stuart Spooner and Ken Finneran, and then Martin Bench and Ian Parsons as we see the Kaltron Supercars coming through. There's the supercars that's coming through, and they are just about good to go. They're going to come in there behind the Pirelli V8 Masters. There's our new panning camera shot as the V8 Masters comes up towards the line. Well, it looks like everybody's getting through there pretty fine. A little bit of a rub in that third and fourth position, as the back end of the Pirelli V8 Masters is not very far away from the front end of the Kaltron Supercars.
Well, with 8 cars overall in the V8 Masters, they head down into Castro Corner one by one, all the way down to 8th spot. And here come the Kaltron Supercars, also quite bunched up, but in a train of sorts as they come through and out of Castro Corner now, down towards the Lunstem Kink. As there you see them come towards your picture, then down into the slightly banked right-hander that is Dam's Dip, down the Tigerberg straight into Sorrel Sweep, the double apex right-hander, the fastest corner on the circuit, and then onto the fastest straight of the circuit. These specially built, Owen Ashley developed race cars, the V8 Masters and the Kaltron Supercars, rush down. I believe speeds of 260 kilometers an hour down into Pirelli Fostron, and side by side there between Gary Thompson and Dennis Guy Duck straight, and a big snap there for Gary Thompson as he exits Pirelli Fostron, and they head down towards the start-finish line to start the first full-speed lap.
Well, there was a very, very big catch there. Sean Moore from Alistair Brown, the blue and yellow, that is Dennis Guy Duck. Behind that, Gary Thompson, Stuart Spooner, Martin Bench, Ian Parsons. Well, let's have a look at those supercars. Ernest Page, our morning show man that leads them out. He's doing a lovely job. Andrew Moffat on the inside line and going around his outside. That was Carl Halleck that's right in there. And then Glenn Phillips directly behind that.
They rush down towards Castro Corner. I hear from Tiny there is a yellow flag in
big
turn
dive.
number 5. Double yellow in turn 5, but we'll get to that when we get closer to the corner. But look at that, Carl Halleck. There is Glenn Phillips, as well as we'll see who's just in front there. That will be Andrew Moffat, that is also fighting out there with Ernest Page, obviously right at the front. Last year's champion. There you see the double waved yellows. That'll be for Ken Finneran in the 44. We'll see as the camera pans, he's on the outside of the circuit there. He's stuck in the sand, so they will keep that double yellow there until he's out of the car and out of the way. So that is Ken Finneran that is stuck there in the gravel trap, as here come the Supercars into frame as there the V8 Masters head down towards block point turn number 1.
Moore from Brown, a bit of a gap to Fenner, Thompson, Spooner in close contact with him as they work their way through. But let's have a look at this massive battle. Ernest Page leads them underneath the City of Cape Town Bridge. Andrew Moffat and Halleck is now the man putting the pressure on.
Yep, the champ is sort of disappearing away from the rest of the top 4. But look at that, 2 out of 3 Pro Oil cars in that 2nd, 3rd and 4th place battle as they run down. Then we see the 5th Pro Oil, the 3rd Pro Oil car of Bradley Fenner there just in the back of the shot. But it is Andrew Moffat from Carl Halleck and Glenn Phillips as they run out of Castro Corner. Now there's Bradley Fenner, and then behind you see Nashvin Slosh, Robin DeFoss and Shane Bosco as they now run down towards Dam's Dip.
All right, so we will share this one. We've got that yellow flags because that 44 car is of Finneran. He's in trouble out there, but here comes Sean Moore from Alistair Brown. Then Dennis Guydick has got Gary Thompson and Stuart Spooner right on his heels as they make their way into turn number 1 into block point. There is Moore, there is Brown, there is Guydick, Thompson and Spooner in that shot. The Supercars are heading through turn 5A kink towards the City of Cape Town Bridge as there's a challenge here. Oh, and Thompson is gone. Thompson has spun the car around. And does he save it? Yes, he does save that 17 car, but he's going to drop all the way down as the Supercars are having a lovely dice coming out of turn number 1, out of block point corner. Here they come towards us. That is Ernest Page sitting out, clearing P1. Then it's Andrew Moffat, Carl Haddock, Glenn Phillips. They are 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Bradley Fenner, right behind Fenner is Nash. She's in that fight as well. Nash Slosh as these Supercars sponsored by Kaltron work their way through the Lundstem kink and into Damps.
Look at the line that Glenn Phillips has, using all the tarmac and more, trying to eat up as much as possible on the 2 cars ahead. And just like that, he was doing so, as now you see back to the lead of the V8 Master. Sean Moore has a 2.3 second gap to Alistair Brown. Then we'll see Dennis Guydick on his own. He was battling there with Gary Thompson, but Gary Thompson had that spin that dropped him down a couple of places. Then you see Stuart Spooner, and now Martin Bench and Ian Parsons are battling it out there for 5th and 6th spot, and Gary Thompson slots into that 7th spot after trying to claw his way back up to where he was in 3rd.
Right, the Supercars are heading towards turn number 1, towards block point corner. And once again, it's Ernest Page that's absolutely dissecting them. Moffat is there in that 2nd spot. He's going to be challenged. No, he's not. That was Glenn Phillips that had a look there at Moffat, but Moffat stays ahead of Phillips, followed there by Carl Halleck as they work their way out of block point.
And as I did see Robin DeFoss, I believe, pulled into the pit, so the crazy Mexican will be out of this one. But there is still that 3-car battle. As you say, the change has been done for that 3rd spot between Halleck and Glenn Phillips for 3rd position in class as they run down through the Lundstem kink and into Dam's Dip once again. The champ, as they've called him in the Kaltron Supercars, Ernest Page is just pulling away with it. Is going very wide, goes Shunmo. He gets a little bit unsettled, and that will help Alistair Brown to try and catch up to that 1st place man.
Well, Well, we'll find out now if there's a problem with the car or if it was just driver error. But Moore was in a spot of bother there, and he still sits out there in P1 out of Castro, but he's been hassled heavily here by the 22 car of Alistair Brown. Alistair Brown sitting right on his case as they work their way out of Damstip. This is P1 and 2 in class and overall, as the leader of the supercars heading into turn number 1 into Blockway. Here he comes, the reigning champion Ernest Page out there in the lead. Second place is now Glenn Phillips. Phillips has gone up into that second spot ahead of Andrew Moffat, who's now been hassled heavily there by Carl Alec.
Glenn Moffat, a force to be reckoned with, and someone that leads out and wins races in this class quite consistently. He is now pulling away from Andrew Moffat, one of his closest rivals, and Carl Halleck in one of the sister Pro Oil cars as they run down. Now we see there is, who we haven't spoken about much, Leon Chetty and Craig Hume, both in the two Armour Guard cars that run on out, and just behind them they have two very fierce V8 Masters, the likes of first and second place overall, Sean Moore and Alistair Brown.
They're going to pick up those two supercars that'll just keep right out of the way of this overall fight for the lead between Moore and Brown. Shane Boscombe going through your shot as we watch Moore and Brown head through Damps. And as they work their way through Damstip, the supercars are working their way out of Fostron, and it is Halleck that's all over the back bumper there of Andrew Moffat as they sit having their own little fight there. But it's all about Ernest Page that is in the lead as he works his way around. Here comes Bradley Fenner towards us. He will work under the bridge and back to the leaders. Overall, they're going to pick up Shane Boscombe, that is Sean Moore and Alistair Brown.
And as the leaders pick up Shane Boscombe and make their way by, the leaders will come across the line to start their penultimate lap. It will be 2 to go as of right this second. A 1:17.478 for Alistair Brown, so he is currently moving quicker than Sean Moore. But with 2 laps left to go, Alistair Brown needs to make some sort of move happen while there's traffic, while Sean Moore's at a disadvantage to take that lead and hopefully take race number 1's victory as they run down into Castro Corner. Now they're nose to tail, still picking up back markers. Now the circuit leads out in front of them. It's clean open air for the both of those first and second V8 Masters drivers in gold class as now they make their way down towards Damsdip.
Right, the supercars is still being led there by Page, and he should be making his way into turn number 5 into Fostron Corner and working out of Fostron Corner. But look at this, Halleck, he's still crowding that bootlet there of Moffat as they come down towards us. Phillips is there in that second spot, and of course the man that's leading, working his way now into Blockcoin, is nobody else other than Ernest Page. But Ernest Page is being caught. Slowly but surely, Page has been caught here by Phillips as they work their way towards turn 2 Castrol Corner.
Yep, and here they come into turn number 1 Blockcoin, do the leaders, and the gap has opened up. This is the final lap. As if we look slightly to the left, I just saw that one supercar gets split between Stuart Spooner and Gary Thompson. Gary Thompson has managed to make his way by Martin Bench and Ian Parsons after that spin a couple of laps ago. But there you see them. There's Leon Chetty and Craig Hume as Ian Parsons makes his way through, as does Martin Bench. As there you see a couple of the supercars getting passed there by Gary Thompson. And now there is your overall leader. 2 more corners, or just under 2 more corners left to go for these two. And it's last minute overtake possibly for Alistair Brown as they rush down towards Pertamina.
I think that Sean Moore's got this one in the bag. Yeah, there was 0.6 of a second between them when they started this lap. But, there's a car on the tyre wall at 3, but we'll get to that later on. We've got to stay with this one. This is the dice for the overall first and second, and it is going to be Moore that will cross the line ahead of Brown. Two of them cross the line. They've put a lap on Bradley Fenner as the rest of the cars just work their way through. Fenner finishes, but he is one lap down. And Dennis Heidik and Stuart Spooner will finish third and fourth in the V8s.
Now we'll just wait for the rest of the group to come through. Here's another of the V8 Masters. That'll be Ian Parsons ahead of Shane Boscombe that comes across the line. Gary Thompson was the one that spun in turn number 3 that caused the yellow flags. But then we see Nashveen Schloss. Then it will be Leon Chetty and Craig Hume come home in the Supercars. But now we wait for this battle between Ernest Page, Glenn Phillips, Andrew Moffat and Kyle Halleck that makes their way towards turn number 5, Pertamina Fostron. As Gary Thompson's come across the line, as has Martin Bench. So 4 cars still battling it out left on the circuit.
Well, as I was saying earlier on, that Phillips had caught up now eventually to the back there of Ernest Page. Page, he's still got this, but they're coming down to the line. It's going to be tight, it's going to be close, but Page will come home ahead of Phillips, and then Moffat will hold out. Yes, he will hold out on Kyle Halleck.
Look at the gap there as we just wait and see 900ths of a second, 93 thousandths if you will, between Glenn Phillips and Ernest Page to the line, and a 10th right at the finish between Kyle Halleck and Andrew Moffat. So that was first and second and third and fourth in the Supercars class. Really, really putting on a show for us.